Okay, my friends, so being the very first Silverhawks episode here on the channel, I would first like to kick off the conversation by talking about the comic book series. This is an absolutely stunning representation of the toy version of Steelheart from the 1980s, redone by Super7. So we have 3 hands that are metal and 3 hands that are real. Alright, so next up is the additional toy version head. Finally, we have the reaction figure version.
Toy box dreams tonight, memories unlocked, unboxed. Toy box dreams for life, memories unboxed. Toy box nostalgia.
Howdy friends, and welcome back to Toy Box Nostalgia. I'm Douglas. This video kicks off an absolute brand new series in the form of a playlist right here on the channel dedicated to a 1980s show that I feel like just does not receive the love that it deserves. Especially here on YouTube, especially considering the show is epic. Even today, I'm watching it, rewatching it again with my bunnies, and I absolutely am still mesmerized by it. And if you haven't figured it out yet from the thumbnail, I'm talking about Silverhawks. And our friends over at Super7 thankfully have helped resurrect Silverhawks for us and bring them back to us. And to kick off this unboxing and review series here on the channel, we have none other than the absolute most beautiful Silverhawks Sergeant in all the universe in her toy version form. That's right, my friends, we have Steelheart. And this is a vac metal toy. Just like the 1980s, in the 80s, I was absolutely mesmerized by my Silverhawks. I used to make them play with the Kenner Real Ghostbusters. I don't know why, I just love playing with those two toys together. Maybe they came out around the same time, I don't know. But to have this back and to hold this and to see this, I'm at a loss for words. I'm gonna be honest with you. I am so taken aback by the fact that this even exists and the fact that this is insanely beautiful. So being vac metal, that's a huge caveat. Why? And I feel like a lot of people get this wrong. I think the vac metal's okay. You probably want to make sure your hands are dry. Wash your hands first, dry them, so you don't have oils on your skin. And whenever you're manipulating them for display purposes or toy photographs, or you're just playing with them, whatever. But the thing you absolutely need to be careful of is the partly real parts of these action figures on vac metal. And that is because I don't think the paint that they use for like the face in her forearm sticks to the vac metal surface very well, so it can chip off incredibly easy. In fact, this one's already damaged. Luckily, I have 2. She has a mask, like an additional head we're going to see, and the mask has some paint on the front of it, and unfortunately, it moved forwards in here and it touched this. All it did was touch this. And it happened while it was in my possession. Actually, I didn't even open this yet. Part of the paint already came off, and that's the paint that, again, that's sitting on top of the vac metal. So be super duper careful with these. I wanted to keep one just in the package just because I was such a massive Silverhawks nutcase as a kid. It might come back, this is my first time opening these and I'm very excited. I do have an additional special unboxing that we'll also be doing, and that is the reaction version. So we have a toy version of a reaction Silverhawks Steelheart from Super7. So we're going to be opening up both. They're absolutely stunning and beautiful. And remember, this is a toy version. Her face on this one, it looks like it's from the show. Really does on this figure. And here it looks more like the toy. So Super7 also gave us another thing that I'm going to be opening up today, and that is an extra set of toy version heads. I have all of these figures here to open up in this series, in this channel. I'm so excited. Oh my god, just looking at this, I feel like I have hearts in my eyes. Anyways, I do have a toy version head. I don't know, I feel like the toy I remember very... Okay, fine, I'll admit, Steelheart was a childhood crush of mine. And I know that's weird, but I was a kid, man. Her eyes in the toy didn't really look like that in the show, like at all. They looked like almost like Masters of the Universe eyes, but the sides were pointed up really high. I just remember staring at that toy a lot. Obsessed. I'm obsessed. If you're new to Toy Box Nostalgia and you would love to keep up with this absolute brand new series in your YouTube newsfeed, please consider hitting that subscribe button. It truly helps out the channel. If you're a fan of Silverhawks, give me a thumbs up. That's all I'm going to say. Just if you like Silverhawks, please give me a thumbs up. As always, please drop a comment below letting me know what your childhood experience was with Silverhawks. Do you have these action figures? If you do, have you taken toy photographs of them? If so, I'd love to see them. Please give me links. Thank you so much for joining me this evening, my friends. I'm very, very excited. I'm ecstatic to get into this series and finally get this stuff out of the boxes. And I literally have every single thing that Super7 has made from Silverhawks, minus, I think, maybe apparel. So without further ado, my friends, let's just dive right in. Okay, my friends, so being the very first Silverhawks episode here on the channel, I would first like to kick off the conversation by talking about the comic book series. Take a look at this beautiful artwork, right? This is a variant. These Silverhawks comic books are made by Dynamite Comics, and I only have 2 so far, but the story is really interesting. It is exactly what you would expect. Typical origin story, and there's a lot of things that I'd love to tell you, but I don't want to add any spoilers into this. So these comic books are written by Ed Brisson, and the artist is George Cambadis. And you can see, like, the artwork is absolutely beautiful. Take a look at Molecular there. Yeah, look at that really nice picture right there of pre-transformed Monstar. I can't wait to open up that action figure here in this playlist. Very cool. Again, I only have 2, but I highly recommend it if you're into Silverhawks, because it's just a new take on the story with absolutely phenomenal artwork. Okay, so here's everything we're going to be opening up tonight. Let's start with the action figure of Steelheart herself, and this again is the toy version. This did not come with this sleeve. This sleeve came from a different action figure, but it fits on there perfectly, and since the sleeves are generic, they don't have any names or anything on them, I think it worked out really well. So for those of you who want to collect these and are bummed out by Super7 dropping the sleeves and the shipping boxes and such, you know, you could just use one from a different action figure. Holy cow, look at all the fingerprints, right? That's going to be essentially the theme of this video. So the slipcover itself is just cardboard, but you can see it's like chromed out. Beautiful Silverhawks emblem, which is embossed right on the cover, and it says Super7 at the bottom right. The bottom left says ages 14 plus. Flipping over to the back, we have the Silverhawks logo with the actual brand, and that is embossed. And then up at the top, we have the Ultimates brand from Super7, and that is also embossed. The actual packaging, you can see, is also chromed out. Look at all of that blue and silver chrome at the bottom there. Very nice. So this is shaped like the Ultimates boxes that we see typically with like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Ultimates and such, where it's angled on the sides and you have your action figure with a nice big huge window that wraps around to both sides. This action figure is just glorious. It's so shiny in person, and I apologize for how much glare there is, but everything is chrome. Down here it says Steelheart Toy Version. Flipping over to the bottom, there's a whole mess of words, and there is the barcode in case you need it. Absolutely beautiful. There's like a really nice galaxy background or star field background just wrapping around the whole entirety of the box, and it's only at the top. And then on the back we have this ghost-like image of Steelheart, and then we have this blurb right here. Try to get less glare for you. I'm recording this in 4K in case you would like to pause this and read this. Beautiful packaging, design. I think Super7 nailed it. If I were to see this as a kid in the 80s, I would probably just lose my mind and die right in the store. To get these open, there's just one sticker at the top here. Inside of the package, we just have raw cardboard, but wow, is that a beautiful box, right? Nice window there. It's a Raz Rentals joke. All right, I think that we're done with this part of the packaging. Here we have the action figure, her alternate heads and her hands and the rest of her accessories inside of this big, beautiful bubble right here. And the cardboard wraps around it almost like you're opening up a really beautiful present. Very classy, very chromed out present. So the back of the action figure comes with this piece of cardboard. On the rear, it's just plain raw cardboard, and then on this side we get the chrome blue color. It's a very deep blue in person, but there's a lot of silver to it. Here's everything inside of these multiple bubbles. So we have a bubble here that has some hands on the right side. We have a bubble here with some human hands on the left side. We have our action figure. We have some bands. We have two alternate heads. One that looks kind of stern. The other one is like her flying helmet face that protects her from the freezing cold temperatures of outer space when she's flying. Behind her, we can see we get one version of Rayzor, is her bird's name, with the toy version. With the animated version, or the cartoon version, here she is here. You can see that she comes with two versions of Rayzor. One of them is in flight and one of them is perched. This Rayzor has less paint application on purpose, honestly, just to match that of the original toy from the 1980s. So let's go ahead and get her out of this bubble. This is what the two bubbles look like separated. This is everything out of the bubbles. This is everything that you get with this toy version of Steelheart. So let's begin by taking a close look at the action figure details. Now, one thing I mentioned in the beginning of the video, before touching any of this chromed out vac metal stuff, I highly recommend washing your hands, making sure they're really dry, you don't have any oils on your hands or anything, because I think that may be one of the problems that affected the original toys in the 1980s, some of the vac metal kind of rubbing off. And also, you want to be incredibly careful anywhere that there's paint applied to the vac metal itself. So this is an absolutely stunning representation of the toy version of Steelheart from the 1980s, redone by Super7. Holy cow. So the face paint application reminds me a lot of that from the TV show, and a lot less from the toy version, because they wanted to create an additional product. As you see right there, her face, that looks a lot more like the toy right there. And we'll open this up here also. The vac metal is very, very slippery, and she kind of feels like she's made out of metal. She has very rigid joints, from what I could tell so far. It's going to be really hard to show off the sculpt just because of the lack of details due to all of the shininess, right? But yeah, let me get really close to her head right there. Absolutely beautiful. You can see the paint is just sprayed on top of the vac metal. If I were to rub that face, I'm pretty sure the paint would just come right off. Even this paint right here, the Silverhawks emblem there on her chest, you want to be really careful anywhere that there's paint applied to it. Everywhere else is okay. Like, I'm pretty sure there'd be some chipping of the vac metal inside the joints, and that should obviously be expected because of the friction there and rubbing between the plastics. But yeah, I'm gonna try as hard as I can not to touch her face or her arm, which is kind of a shame because, you know, you want to plant Rayzor on her arm. Pretty sure the friction might just make the partly real paint come off. Her hands, by default, she comes with two open hands. We can see right there. Wow, the vac metal really feels like metal. She has some heft to her. Like, this is a very heavy action figure. I feel like she has all of the same details as the non-toy version, as far as like all of the metal. She's partly metal and she's partly real. And she has wings of silver and nerves of steel. Take a look at that. You can kind of see her bicep cut right there, like some of the sculpting is done. And you can see a lot of sculpting went into the legs, like the metal legs. You can see that she has metal all the way down to her toes. So the only parts that are partly real is going to be her face and her right arm, from just below the elbow, the forearm, all the way down to the hand. The hand is cast in the skin tone color. So this, you don't have to worry about paint chipping off of this part. But this, her forearm's definitely painted over the vac metal. Really beautiful action figure. Honestly, I love the purple. So she is a purple chrome. It's probably not showing up well on camera, but in person, she's definitely like, I'd say a lavender purple color, but truly silver under this light. You have to put very specific lighting on these action figures, probably to see the actual toy version vacuum metal color. So for instance, with Quicksilver, to see the silver, probably easy. That's all you're going to see, really. But with Bluegrass coming out, I just got a notification that he finally shipped from Big Bad Toy Store. He's going to be blue vac metal, like the original toy from the 1980s, and we'll take a really close look at him there, but I don't doubt in my mind that you're going to have some issues trying to actually see the blue on camera. She has steel knee pads, steel legs. She has like this band going around her left thigh here near the bottom, near her knee. And then her calves are sculpted out on both legs. And then down to the feet, she does have those claws on the back of her heel, like we saw on the TV show. Very cool. And her shoes are the same purple chrome vac metal. And they do have a line going across the toes there. The purple chrome, like, it's just like messing with my mind and my eyes. This is so cool looking. You can see it's absolutely different from the cartoon version. Her eyebrows are much darker and thicker. Her eyeliner is thicker. And the head sculpt looks the same though. But I think with the vac metal, we're losing information as far as the sculpt goes. If you take a look at the toy version at the head, like where hair would be, you can see lines in there, very prominent lines, which aren't in the toy version. Yeah, you can see the toy version is just kind of gauzed over, I guess, because they're kind of there. You could kind of see the lines carved in. You can see them in the top too. If we take a look at the pelvis here from the cartoon version on the left versus the toy version on the right, you can see that there's just, the details are just kind of washed out a little bit, but they're still there. It looks like the same sculpt to me. And obviously we don't get the paint applications of the blue on her arm and on her left thigh for this piece right here, and then this piece up here, just because this is all chromed out purposefully. Just to give you that nostalgic hit, to show you that these toys can still exist. And again, I think this plastic is different from the plastic that was used in the 1980s. So this is going to be a lot more flexible, and that may account for some of the issues that folks have been having with some of the vac metal chipping off of their action figures. So I'd be really careful in parts that would flex or bend, like for instance this forearm here, parts that are a little thinner like her fingers here. Let's try to use some of this here and wipe off some fingerprints. See how well this works. Try not to hit that Silverhawks emblem there. Oh wow, that really works really well. Alright, all the fingerprints are gone now. I think it's cool that Super7 added it, and they even put their logo on it, which is kind of cool. Alright, so next up, let's take a look at the action figure articulation, my friends. So starting with the head is in fact removable. Very scared to do this. I'm going to hold it by the vac metal parts on the sides here. Oh, thank God. I got it off without any issue. No paint chipped. Here's the ball joint for the head. It does have some joystick movement, 360 degrees. And you can see it moves quite a lot. Forward to back and then side to side. Here's a look at the socket inside where the head connects. So she does have some good head tilt. The joystick movement kind of isn't there left to right. I don't see any. She could look up. She can't look up, actually. She can only look straight ahead, unfortunately. So getting her into a flying position, you know, she would just be looking straight ahead. But that's okay. Okay, so moving downwards, yeah, she can look down really well, actually. She does have a cut here at the diaphragm, so she does have like an ab crunch almost, but it doesn't crunch at all, it just swivels. That's all we get with it. Moving down to her arms are removable, so they are on a peg. There's a look at the peg right there. And they're removable just so that we can put the arms on with the wings, essentially. And you can see that the peg goes straight, horizontal, across the body. So when putting the arms back in, just make sure the peg's straight. There's also a hinge. You can see the hinge right there, which means that the arms can move up and down, and they could spin 360 on that peg. there is a bicep cut. You can see the bicep cut. We spin 360 right there. Moving down to the elbow's on a pin, so it spins, but you gotta kind of bend it a little bit to do so, and there's a big old hinge right there, so she can get a wide range of articulation. She can absolutely touch her head and her face. Moving down to the wrist is on a peg, obviously, because the hand is removable. That's what the peg looks like right there. And there's a hinge that goes into the palm of this action figure, so she's going to get this style of movement from the default hands that come with this action figure. This size is the same. Moving down to the pelvis, the articulation doesn't, like, there's no butterfly joint or drop down joints here, so it's going to be inhibited quite a lot. This is as far as her legs can spread here, and then moving forwards, like if she's in a walking position, this is as much of the articulation as you're going to get there with that. Not much, and the reason why is just because of the design. So essentially one leg has to be perfectly straight with her body, can't bend backwards, as you can see right there. There is a gap there. You turn it a little bit, still can't get much articulation. It's just kind of straight up and down with the body. Moving down to the knees swivel. You can see right there, and you can also see that there's a very big hinge in there, so the knee's going to bend quite a lot. There's a part right there that's lacking the paint, the chrome paint, and we could see that the plastic they used to cast this was just a dull gray color. It's kind of cool, but you can also see like the paint application, like how it's sprayed on. It's pretty cool. Moving down to the ankle's on a rocker, and you can move the foot up and down like this also. So very limited articulation at the pelvis and the head. Putting this head on, her flying helmet face, you can move her, she can actually look up, which is kind of nice, and look down a little bit, not much. I feel like the head's not fully on. You can see there's a big gap right there. There we go, just needed snapped in. But yeah, she can, this face actually looks up, which is good. So if you want to get her in like a flying position for your displays or your toy photography, yeah, this probably be the best bet with this head here. And you can see that they're kind of shaped the same, so I'm not sure why that's the case, why this head lacked the looking up articulation. We can obviously just use some sticky tack and, you know, just put it like this kind of stuff here. I use it all the time for toy photography. So that is all the articulation and all the details of the action figure. Let's go ahead and compare some of these heads now. Let's start with these two here. They're very similar. One of them just looks kind of angry on the left, and the other one looks very serious on the right. But the paint application is truly flawless. I'm so afraid to touch the skin tone on here because I know that it's very fragile. But the eyebrows are completely different. So the eyebrows on the head on the left look just like those that we just saw. Yeah, really close, but still looks different. The sculpt almost looks different. And I'm not sure if that's because of the chrome paint or not, but it definitely looks a lot different. And you can see she has bright blue eyes, she has some lipstick painted on, and yeah, look at the difference in the eyebrows. Completely different. I can't tell this expression, like, is she like concentrating on something somebody's saying and she's about to laugh, or is she really angry? The right side's definitely, she just looks, you know, like she did in the show. She always just kind of looked the same. This is the head that I had issues with in the box itself. So in my possession, I noticed that this had popped out of the little slot that it was in, and it was touching the plastic of the window on the front of the box, and you could see some of that black paint right there underneath the blue visor is absolutely just missing. It just came off onto the plastic of the box. And flipping around to the back, it's really hard to show this, but there's right there, you can see there's paint missing right there too, like chrome paint, and I could see the dull gray color underneath there. Flipping over to the bottom, looking into the socket, you could see that dull gray color paint. But that's how fragile this stuff is. And I feel like it's just the paint that's on the vac metal itself, which you have to be very careful with. Finally, moving on to additional hands. So we have 3 hands that are metal and 3 hands that are real. I never really understood that because metal is real, isn't it? But that's okay. That is the name of the game with Silverhawks. So we get 2 hands that are kind of like pointing hands, or hands with the fingers together that are open. Those you can use for some really good flying shots, I bet. And then we get two hands in a fist form. You can see this closed fist completely. And then we have two hands that are gripping hands for gripping weapons or what have you. And the real hands are exactly the same sculpt, it looks like to me. This one, some serious QC issues with this one, but that's okay. You can see there's a big seam right there going over the knuckles, and it looks like some of the knuckles aren't even lining up with the fingers. But the gripping hand looks good. Yeah, take a look at that. And you can see the peg style. This peg style looks a lot like the TMNT Ultimates peg style. And finally, we get two flying arms right here. And wow, there's a lot of paint overspray right there. You can see that the skin tone color was in fact sprayed right on top of the vac metal. But yeah, these are just the wings that peg right in. And you can see that the wings are cut to match the shape of the body. So they're probably almost always going to be in some sort of flying position. They can go upwards, but you can see it kind of breaks the illusion that they're attached to the body, unfortunately. That's kind of a bummer. I kind of wish that they went with like the fabric wings that we had in the 1980s, just because, you know, it would stretch. And, you know, a lot of times you see Silverhawks with their arms when they're flying, and their arms are almost like up high like this, and you can see the wing going all the way down like this, and I always thought that was so cool looking. There she is with her flying hand. Right? Yeah. This one has a lot of scratches on it. See the scratches right there? And her bicep. And yeah, a lot of detail in the wings though. I really like the way that they're shaped. It looks a lot like it did in the TV show. I think they matched the TV show perfectly. But again, not really much like the toy, since the toy was fabric. But one other thing I'd like to show you is that on these flying arms, we also get peg holes. And you can see that in the form of those triangles right there. That triangle right there on her left shoulder, and this triangle over here on her right shoulder is for a blast effect that I believe comes with the, yeah, you can see it down inside there. It comes with the cartoon version. So we'll have to wait till we unbox this one to plug those into this, but that's kind of cool. Yeah, there's what she looks like in full flying Silverhawks mode. Wing it! That's what Quicksilver would scream whenever they would get ready to fly. Yeah, just it's a little bit goofy, to be honest with you, that we can't put the arms down because of the wings being hard plastic instead of fabric. It's just a little weird. So the original toy I had, I'm pretty sure I squeezed the legs together and the arms would just go straight up, and the fabric would open, and there was a large circle on the back that the fabric went into to hold it together. This is all hard sculpted plastic, all of it, and it's glorious. It's absolutely beautiful, minus the fingerprints. Holy crap, is that shiny. It's like lighting up my entire room with these lights, these studio lights. It's like putting glare all over the ceiling. It probably looks like there's water in here if somebody were looking in from outside. Because of the way the light is reflecting onto the ceiling. Alright, so let's get these arms off of here. They're making me nervous. Here's what she looks like with no arms on. Very Terminator looking, right? Especially with that flying visor on. So finally, let's take a look at her little bird friend here named Rayzor, right? So I'm going to put her arm out like this, and we could perch Rayzor right onto it. Okay, so I could get Rayzor to perch on her arm. There we go, there we go, there we go. But there's not a lot of grip. Rayzor's hands are kind of soft. Let's take a close look at Rayzor. So he's like a soft plastic, almost like a rubber, except his head. His head feels like hard plastic. His limbs are very soft. Also, it's very cool, and they articulate. This looks really awesome. The head does also, but it's only going to be a spin. You're not going to get like up and down movement. The head does remove. You can see just like that. Very cool. Take a look at the paint application of Rayzor's eyes. Loving all of the attention to detail. The sculpt is absolutely perfect. I wouldn't change anything on this action figure. Take a look at the socket that this giant pig goes into. Snaps, very satisfying snap. I don't think the legs are removable. Yeah, definitely not. But they're, like I said, they're very soft plastic, almost rubber-like, and nothing else articulates, so just the head and the legs. So let's see if we could get Rayzor to perch on her arm again. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so here is a position in which I could get Rayzor to stay on her arm. And that's really it. Like this is too soft, unfortunately. There's no grip, there's no friction involved here, really. It just kind of... I feel like if this were standing straight up, it would be okay just because of gravity. But there's not a lot of grip, unfortunately, with Rayzor. You can see he's like not even holding on correctly. Alright, so next up is the additional toy version head. Before we go ahead and open this up, let's take a look at this packaging, because it looks a lot different from the Silverhawks Ultimates that we just looked at. So up here at the top, we have Super7 logo. Over here on the right, it says ages 14 plus, choking hazard. We have a Silverhawks logo and emblem with the bird in that 1980s beautiful logo that we just fell in love with as kids, right? It says Super Pack, almost in the same style of font as Silverhawks. And we have like a star field background kind of, which is black and fades to a blue color. And then we have this frame around it, which starts as almost like a powder blue and turns into white. It goes all the way down to the Ultimates logo, and it's kind of gray down there. So it goes from light blue to white and then to a gray finish. We have 4 heads inside of here. We have Buzzsaw, we have Monstar, we have Quicksilver, and we have Steelheart. Flipping over to the back, that's exactly what it says on the back. It shows the different heads right here. All toy versions. So this is going to be a toy version of the ferocious face for Buzzsaw. And it looks like the head, the actual Buzzsaw on the head spins. So it's kind of cool. And then the original toy head from Monstar. This like really reminds me of that toy. I loved that toy as a kid. And then the original toy head for Quicksilver. And the original toy head for Steelheart. Again, we have that same star field, which fades to black. Not for resale. Here's the barcode, though I don't believe this ever came to retail. It says Warner Brothers at the bottom left-hand side here. And a lot of words. So that is it for the packaging. We have a single bubble right here inside of a blister. So let's just go ahead and tear this open. Okay, my friends, here's the bubble with the 4 heads inside of it. I'm just going to remove Steelheart's head very carefully. Okay, so here is the toy, semi-accurate head from the original toy that we had, the 1980s. This is a remake by Super7, and it was an additional charge to get these 4 heads. Unless you had pre-ordered the entire wave from Super7's website. Let's go ahead and just get the head on there. That is beautiful. This is how I remember Steelheart. Holy cow. Holy cow, that is absolutely stunning. This is flawless. Look at the details in the face. There's like none, right? It looks like some of the actual sculpting details are gauzed over just because of the paint on the actual sculpted and cast plastic. You can see she's very soft looking features, right? Almost a non-existent mouth, unless you look at her from certain angles or use some lighting, as we see here. I'll just make some shadows here on her face. It looks like she's kind of smiling too. Absolutely adorable. So the paint is an orange-brown for her eyes and her eyebrows. We can compare the difference here. Look at that. All of the additional details look like they're exactly the same. Yeah, even to the points on the top. The back of her head there. Holy crap, this is stunning. This is everything that I could have ever asked for in an action figure. It's one of my absolute favorite lines from the 1980s, and just the articulation is just really good. You know, you lack some in the hips, except for like this spinning movement here. That's kind of cool. And the head, you know, can't get her to look up really, which is kind of a bummer because she looked up a lot whenever she was about to fly. You know, she would just wipe her hand down her face and her face would become this. And Quicksilver would just scream, "Wing it!" And then the wings would come out and they would fly, right? And they had all these cool formations, almost like parachuters, doing a lot of tricks in the air just to confuse the enemy. But this is beautiful. This is absolutely perfect. Finally, we have the reaction figure version. This is the toy version of Steelheart in the reaction toy line by Super7 also. Let's start by taking a look at the packaging. Up here at the top, this is an unpunched card. You can see right there, it says Super7 at the top left. Over here at the top right, it says ages 14 plus. And we have that absolutely beautiful, huge Silverhawks logo and the words and everything. Absolutely awesome. We could see Rayzor's coming in for a landing. From behind Steelheart, says Steelheart action figure. None of this is chrome. Like, nothing is really chrome on here. It's just painted to look like it's chrome, and it's on high gloss cardboard. But take a look at that artwork of Steelheart. Wow. That's beautiful. Super7 crushed it. I wouldn't trust anyone else to do Silverhawks now. After seeing this, it's flawless. It says reaction figures down here at the bottom right. This is so beautiful. We have the action figure inside of this bubble, and we can see a blue Rayzor right there in a perched version. And she's definitely in her toy configuration. We can see the faces. Look at that. Very nice. Flipping over to the back, we see our cross sale here. I do have all of these, and we'll open them up with their associated figure here on the channel. Bluegrass is coming in the mail, the Ultimates version, and I do have the rest actually already, so we can begin working on those while Bluegrass is making his way from the galaxy to my house. Up here at the top, we see the Silverhawks logo, and we see a blurred starfield in the background. Very nice touch because that looks very 80s. Up here at the top left says Super7, and then again, this is not chrome. It just kind of looks like that the way it's painted. We see this metal-looking band around here. All the names of the figures, collect them all. Here is the barcode in case you need it. It says made in China, lots of words. Warner Brothers, and yeah, let's go ahead and get this open. Here is the absolutely adorable little action figure inside of the bubble that was inside the box. I don't see any bands, which is awesome. Woohoo! Here's everything that you get for the reaction figure version of Steelheart, the toy version, right? So let's begin by taking a close look at this reaction figure's details. My friends, look at this beautiful face. Stunning. And she does have the emblem on her chest, though it has a little bit less detail. If you can imagine, this is a 4-inch action figure. Very tiny compared to the original. The original looks like she's pretty much double in size. Maybe this is 3.75. We'll take a measurement here in a second. But the details are all there. Like, I think they did a great job for something this small. Obviously, we're going to lack a lot of articulation, but, you know, this is a reaction figure. But getting this in this chromed out toy version, it's just awesome. Absolutely awesome. And I'm pretty sure the original may have been closer to 6 inches tall from Kenner in the 1980s. Because like I said, I used to play with them alongside of my real Ghostbusters action figures, which were also from Kenner. And I just remember in my brain, they were just like the same scale. But we do get a partly real arm right there. Again, this might be painted over top of vac metal, so I'd be very careful with that. And obviously the emblem on the chest there, just be very careful, and the face. Again, I would just honestly just try not to touch that stuff. The purple chrome looks beautiful in person. It looks a lot more purple in her feet in person. Mine has some paint chip right there. You can see some of the chrome or the vac metal is kind of missing from her right foot at the top where it meets like the ankle guard. And she still has those little, you know, hawk-like hooks right there. Dew claws, whatever, on a bird. I don't know what they're called. And I have birds. Her only accessory is going to be Rayzor. And Rayzor is going to plant right on her arm. Really well, actually. Wow, a lot better than the Ultimates version. So that's a win. The weird thing about the reaction version is that, for instance, this is $25. This is $35. $25? $35. $10 more and you can get all of this. But this has a lot of charm. And this is brand new. And to be fair, 35 bucks on Big Bad Toy Store, that's because these are on sale. And they're typically $55, I believe. But, you know, still, $10 difference? That's bananas. I'm not sure this is worth 25 bucks, though I get it. You know, Super7 being a small company, they're making a very niche product. People are going to pay it if they're Silverhawks fans like me. Price points of this is always going to be odd with the reaction figures. I like when they go on sale. Like right now, I think right now, the last time I bought an Evil Horde Masters of the Universe reaction figure, it was like $4 on Big Bad Toy Store. And that kind of makes sense, right? These just kind of stand there. They don't have much articulation. So for the articulation, we're going to spin at the head, 360. We're going to spin at the arms, 360 at the shoulders, and then the legs, we only get movement at the pelvis, and it's not 360, obviously, just due to the design. But these figures remind me a lot of these like tiny little Star Wars action figures from Kenner that my uncle gave me when I was a kid in the 1980s. They're like the same size, I feel like. I really like those original Kenner figures, the Star Wars ones. They were just awesome, and I had so many of them. I don't know where they went. Maybe my mom still has them. I'll have to ask her. So as far as Steelheart goes here in 2025, this is literally everything from Super7. We have the toy version additional head, which came with the Super Pack. We have the reaction figure version of her. And we also have the Ultimates version, both in toy form. And finally, we have just the cartoon regular basic version of her, which we're going to open up here on the channel also. This is blowing my mind how absolutely gorgeous this action figure is. Perfect. She is perfect. Like, I wish I could get Super7 to watch this video so I could just tell you, please, please don't stop making Silverhawks ever. She's flawless. All of the ones that I have so far are absolutely stunning. And I can't wait to see, I'm hoping at SDCC 2025, we get some announcements from Super7 as far as Silverhawks goes. Like, I want Melodia, I want Hardware. You know, there's a lot of characters that I feel like they need to actually keep going and making. Okay, so Steelheart stands at exactly 6.5 inches tall, which I think is standard for an action figure in the Super7 Ultimates line. So let's do a little bit of comparison in height. First of all, let's see her next to a Masterverse action figure. Here is Shadow Weaver from Masters of the Universe Masterverse. Here she is standing next to Faker from Masters of the Universe Origins Cartoon Collection. Here she is standing next to a fellow space alien. This is the Super7 Ultimates version of the Martian Commander from Mars Attacks. Here is Steelheart standing next to a Masters of the Universe Origins female action figure. This is She-Ra, Princess of Power from the Cartoon Collection. Here she is standing next to the Super7 Deluxe version of Lion-O. That's awesome. That is an awesome picture. Here she is standing next to Scarecrow, which is a 6-inch DC Direct McFarlane Toys re-release from Batman the Animated Series. And finally, here's a nice shot of her and her reaction figure counterpart both holding their Rayzor birds. Well, that's it, my friends. I want to wrap this video up by saying thank you so much for sticking to the end, my friends, and joining me this evening for the Toy Box Nostalgia unboxing and review and super duper close look at the 2025 Super7 Ultimates Silverhawks Steelheart Toy Version action figure. I gotta say, Steelheart absolutely stole my heart, just like she did when I was a kid. I was obsessed with my Steelheart toy as a kid, and now I'm insanely happy to have this in my hands. It's just absolutely gorgeous. But the purple chrome is making my brain turn into the shape of a heart. Like, I don't know what it is. I know this video probably sounds like it's sponsored. It absolutely is not. To be fair and to be completely transparent with you, I've never actually made a single dime for my YouTube channel. Again, thank you so much for sticking to the end. I truly hope that you enjoy the rest of your week, my friends, and remember, grab your camera and collect and shoot.